exciting developments in the virtual world, including this VR space we're in, and also the physical world. And I think we're at the cusp of a really transformative interaction between, being able to create arbitrarily cool, exciting spaces, as well as the, trying to help save the planet that we're living in. So the combination of these ideas is what we're calling Project Ark, named after Noah's Ark in the flood in the biblical times, where they tried to protect as much of the world before the flood comes and wipes out all the animals. So if we can go to the next slide. That's okay. Can we go to the next slide? Perfect. So essentially, what we're here to discuss is a set of ideas that I think it can be quite interesting. So a little bit before I start into the technical aspects, I just want to share with you a bit of the background we come from. We are a team of people who have a lot of experience in the social impact and international development sector of the world. And also we are excited to work with the WWF, which is a very large global NGO, especially for endangered animal conservation. We have a methodology for figuring out how we evaluate the impact we have. And finally, we have some technology that we're using to bridge the digital and the physical worlds together. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here's a picture of some of the logos of people that we've worked with before. Some of it comes from the NGO world, and other ones, these are all the organizations that the team members have worked at. So some of them are personally worked at, like Singularity University, like the Growth Africa, Kalinga, and then other ones, especially Amani Institute, a wonderful sort of leadership training academy in Kenya that a lot of our team members have overlapped in, and then also, Effective Altruism, Institute of Development Studies, and also Aspens Network. So the origins of the idea really comes from looking at the problems that we have in conservation today, and how do we actually address the critical problems of human development. Next slide. So in terms of supporters, we've been able to have some pretty interesting people come and endorse this idea, including Joe Calambano, who is a former secretary. He worked in the Secretary General's office of the UN for about 6 years. He helped make these sustainable development goals that we know and love as the key benchmark of actually influence for general public good. We also have Alex Gill, who is a chairman of the board at Kearney, as the world's largest, one of the world's largest consulting companies. And he's also a sort of very creative supporter. We have Louis Redshaw, who comes from the very experienced backgrounds in carbon credit markets, and also Professor Yi Heng, who is actually the first Asian member on the executive committee of the Club of Rome, which is one of the world's largest gatherings of heads of state people. So with these people's support, we are looking to, let's go to the next slide. So we are also excited to collaborate with Panda Labs. So Panda Labs is the innovation arm of the WWF. Really, it is the creative portion actually of their ability to work with other technology and innovation companies. So Panda Labs today has really launched 3 separate projects. One was Consensus, which is the largest Ethereum company in the world, headed by Joe Lubin. The other one was with Boston Consulting Group, the very large international consulting company. And we are essentially the 3rd external collaborator project that's launched with Panda Labs. And so we're very excited, and you can read the title here, but basically we are coming together to experiment with the digital asset technology stack in order to drive the conservation of nature-led environment protection. So I'll tell you more about what it looks like in the future. Just give me 1 second. Hey guys, I seem to have disappeared into another part of the world. Um, hey, I'm here, but I can't come into the room. I'm somehow flying. Weird. Yeah, I can't come in. I don't know how to move into this room. Like, there's like a door block here. Let me try to. Hi guys, can you hear me again? Right, I was really strange technical difficulties. So now I'm back. So basically, we are working to support the Sustainable Development Goals, which are, the 17 SDGs I just mentioned, created by the UN. These SDGs essentially create the value, right, that we are deciding collectively to be the most important goals that we should be achieving with our society. To give you a little taste of them, so number 13 is climate actions. Everyone knows climate change is happening. Beyond climate change, we also need to worry about decent work and economic growth, reducing inequality, goal number 10, gender equality, number 5, clean water and sanitation, number 6. So the goals themselves are really fascinating. They're the result of a long series of negotiations between 190 countries of the world, as well as all of the major corporates, together trying to figure out what are the things that we should be treasuring as human beings on the planet. Next slide. And so what we've done is we've looked at the largest organizations that some of these goals have working underneath them. And we've really tried to find the groups that are essentially doing a lot of stuff in this space. And then we want to work with them to actually launch these digital asset experiments. If you see here, the WWF is really the first of what we hope to be a long series of projects that will essentially create funding, also infrastructure for the other SDGs as well. So next case, next slide. I want to share with you kind of a fascinating story. So um, as we looked at the space, we realized that the way we treat nature is fundamentally flawed because we're essentially treating nature as a free resource that if you don't take, someone else will. So it's a idea called the tragedy of the commons. There's a big pile of free stuff, and if you don't take it, someone else is going to take it before you. What happens is we all rush to take it and we remove it as much as possible, and then we don't have it anymore. So what we want to do is really create an alternative model, and here is a story on the left here of a fascinating legal precedent. This is actually being done in the United States a few years ago, where a bunch of people in a city decided to give the the lake that they live next to legal personhood. What that means is that they are deciding that this lake is actually itself a person, is a legal person, and should be respected and treated with the same rights. And that's really, really interesting. But the thing is that even though it's a person, and so what that means is that it's now able to sue other people, like individuals or companies in court. It can actually now interact with the mechanics of the world we live in, this lake. But beyond that, it doesn't have any financial resources. So even though it's a person, it's essentially a poor person. So what to do is we want to create endowments for natural capital. We actually want to create the ability for natural capital not only to exist as a person, but also to be able to have money to spend. And that's really the long-term vision of what Ark is trying to do. It's trying to use the idea of NFTs to gather capital from the global world, and then basically create lasting endowments that we can then continue to fund and protect the conservation of our natural resources. Next slide. So here's a picture of a wonderful lady called Eleanor Ostrom. She actually is the first female person to win the Nobel Prize in economics. And what did she write her piece on? She wrote it about how to solve the tragedy of the commons, the problem that we just talked about earlier. So her research says that the tragedy of the commons, while seen as an inevitable fact of human nature, actually is not inevitable. It is actually a choice. And there are many examples in human society where people, although they have finite resources, they are not actually using it up completely and creating the tragedy of the commons. Instead, they're able to regulate their use of it and actually continue using it for hundreds of years. So she studied all of these human societies, and she sort of kind of from an anthropology angle, and then concluded with a bunch of guidelines for what it takes to basically protect. She called it the common resource pools or common pool resources. So the first thing she said is that you need to be able to draw a very clear boundary between what is the resource and what is the outside world. You need to define where the resource starts and where it ends. Second is you need to have the ability to set rules that are going to be respected by the community. You need to have the ability to be essentially a rule maker. And that rule maker should distinguish between people who are part of the community and people who are not. The third is you need to have a mechanism to monitor human behavior and essentially transparently record exactly what they're doing. Either they're helping the environment or they're actually destroying it. And then you need to set a series of graduated penalties. So some small penalty in the beginning if you do something bad once, and then a lot of penalty, a very expensive penalty if you do it multiple times. And finally, you need to have a low-cost means of a dispute resolution. You need to be able to have people agree what exactly are the ways that you are being fined or being seen as being punished, and then have that not take up huge amounts of actual resources. And that's actually fascinating because if you think about the legal world, right, especially the American legal world, like there's a huge relationship of suing each other. And suing is a very expensive way to settle disputes. You need to hire external resources, lawyers, and then they need to spend lots of money and lots of time, go through a very time-intensive process to even resolve one particular dispute. So instead, what we need to do is find a very transparent and hopefully automatic way to do it. And so the punchline I had actually of actually reading all this stuff is that I think that we're living at the first time in human history where we can actually use the ideas and the ideas and technology of smart contracts and the whole blockchain self-governance infrastructure to actually apply it to Eleanor Ostrom's theories. That I think is the cornerstone of everything we're trying to do. We're trying to take the theories that she had and observations about how people can protect the use of natural destruction and actually turn it into code. And that code is going to live on its own. And that code is going to be able to have low cost dispute resolution. And that I think is the big idea I want to share with you today. Next slide. So let's think about this a little bit more. In order to actually evaluate, what receives impact, we need to have our own rigorous set of definitions. So we've thought a lot about how do we define what impact means, how do we treasure to be good and bad, how do we measure the work we do, how do we choose projects, how do we sort of say this project is worth supporting, the other one is not. So what we have come up with is a series of guidelines that will continuously monitor the use of funds as the NFTs bring in digital assets. And I think this is really important. A lot of times the charities and NGOs that we donate money to, they try their best to keep things transparent, but because there is a lot of human people in the mix, it's very difficult to know exactly if every person is actually doing the right thing. Sometimes, you see this head of a charity driving a Lamborghini sports car, and you're like, that's something is wrong here. But you won't need to. You shouldn't be able to have to wait until that point to figure out if actually the funds are being used appropriately. Next slide. So here's just a few stories of things I think that we can work on that's very exciting. So this is a picture of the Maasai warrior tribe. This is in Kenya. And in particular, what they've done is they've set up a Nashulu Conservancy. And this conservancy actually is community owned. So it's actually owned by the people who live in the community. And not only is it self-sustaining, but also it spends a lot of its resources on projects that go beyond just even the environment itself. It actually goes to, try to have campaigns to resist, female gender mutilation, to have education for the people who live in the society, also for healthcare provisions and benefits actually can be provided to the people. And actually lower in the right-hand corner, this guy called Johnny, the Caucasian person standing next with a bucket, he actually is one of the core founding members of ARK. So he actually worked on the project physically. He was there, and then he helped the project apply for and receive the UN Equator Prize 2020. Next slide. And so thinking about how we do storytelling around the Kenyan effort, there's something called the Big Five. So if you go on African safaris, where you go and see wild animals in their natural habitat, which is a breathtaking experience, you want to see, an elephant, a lion, a rhino, a leopard, and what we hope to do is take the huge, beautiful, available inspirations that are in the physical world and turn them into digital collectibles that are a lot more enduring than the trusk of an elephant just by literally killing the elephant and taking it and shipping it here. Instead, you can actually have a virtual representation that can last a very long time and can also be artistically decorated and beautiful. So that's really and then guys, crazy enough, the lights in my room closed, and so the Oculus shut off, and I had to open the lights in order for Oculus to recognize I'm standing where I am. Come bring me back. Okay, so let's continue. Next slide. And then the other thing we can do, and I think this is actually very, very powerful and very easy to do, is just to take the incredible resources that we have in National Geographic and many of these other, wildlife photography places and turn those into NFTs. So this is something that we're actively working on. It's kind of our deal pipeline. And with the WWF as our anchor participant, I think we can try to create more engagements like this, where we take the incredible beauty that is in the world, we capture it digitally, and we create NFTs from it. Slide. So in terms of architecture, over the last 7 months, we've been working on this project. And what we have already is the following. We have a website called project-ark.co that is available today to be seen, and you can interact with it. Then we'll use it as a way to run the auctions and also the selling of the NFTs that we're creating. Beyond that, we are designing the governance of the DAO as well as the mechanism for voting. So this is kind of like active R&D work right now. How do you actually design a governance of an international collective that will eventually, hopefully, help oversee the endowments that are raised through this new digital world? Next slide. And so this is just a picture of what it looks like in terms of having a web front end, a smart contract backend, and also a server backend. I think that some of you guys might have seen similar diagrams before. To me, it was just a very interesting process of actually doing, building it for real. Like I've been in the blockchain world in terms of talking about ideas for the last 2.5 years, and so this is one of the first times I've actually been working with our team to actually make the idea into reality. And I think that's really gratifying and turns out to be a lot more challenging than you think it is in the beginning. Okay, continue. And here's a proof of concept. So over the last few months, we've actually created our own NFTs. This is the Amur leopard. The Amur leopard is one of the most endangered big cats in the world. There's only 84 Amur leopards left in the wild, period, full stop, in the whole world. And so we decided to celebrate the existing Amur leopards by creating digital NFTs for them. And this is the first POC that we sort of went in. And just to walk you through this, we essentially made the Amur leopards, then we listed them on the site, and then we allowed people to purchase them using Ethereum. And then if you go to the next slide, then the ownership of the Amur leopard transfers over to the holder, and they can go on OpenSea, which is the world's largest NFT, e-commerce website, and then you can basically purchase. You can actually resell them. So what we want to prove is we want to prove that the NFTs we create are compatible with the entire NFT ecosystem, and that you can actually own them as well. So we can go to the next slide. And it should be a picture of me. Yeah, so this is the Ether scan. This is me actually buying it with Ether myself, and then going to OpenSea and seeing, hey, look, actually now it shows up under my account in OpenSea as well. So that's all kind of done. Next slide. And then where we are today is we have then been working with an open call for artists. So we went and spent about 3 or 4 weeks. We engaged with close to 100 global artists, people who've actually spent a lot of time, really making cool stuff and now are just beginning to explore NFT space. But we found people who are very aligned with the mission and values of what we're doing. And then we partner with them to create these incredible kind of rare NFTs. I wish I could actually show you the videos, but we actually paired these things with video, with sound. It is stunning. It is so beautiful to listen to. I'm just gonna play, the sound of one of these videos. This is actually the sound for the horse, and you can hear it through the speaker, even though you can't see it move. It actually moves as well. Well, I don't know if you guys heard that, but hopefully you saw, you at least heard it a little bit through the. This is a crazy physical and virtual world intersection here. And then I'm gonna play one more short sound clip. This is actually the egg you see here, silver egg, and there's also a cool video as well. So I think that's um, uh, we'll be able to share some of these videos with you in the Zoom link, so you can sort of play around with them as well. But I think what's really cool is that there's a lot of creative space available for actually artists who can tell a story. And so our story is that the first campaign we're launching with the WWF actually is happening in Romania. Romania WWF actually has been finding a way to change the economic incentive of hunters who are hunting the Romanian bison and the Romanian, elk, and actually paying them instead to become data gatherers. So they can actually make a living still spending their time in the woods, but instead of actually going out and killing animals, and not making that much money from it, they can now instead be paid to gather information about the animals and then give that for scientific research. And so that's really the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we hope to create with them. The most amount of technical difficulties I've had in a presentation in my life. So basically, what we've then done is actually we've worked with the music, and the music actually comes from Romanian instruments. So we had amazing guys in Venice Beach and Los Angeles basically create dedicated soundtracks that accompany the pieces we're creating. And this is just a very fun creative exercise that we've been going through. But to me, it's really inspiring because we're working with people around the world across like 10 different countries, trying to make a project that can then essentially give someone give something someone is willing to own. That money, this digital asset, now is going to go fund the physical conservation. This is the loop. This is the POC, and we're very, very honored to work with these incredible artists to make these pieces that hopefully you guys will see. Next slide, please. And over the last 2 days, what we've been doing is we have been, so this is just a campaign. So in service of this idea of incubating, endangered animals, we have these eggs. So these eggs, once collected, will hatch into really cool, animal NFTs. So there's a sort of element of surprise in there as well. You don't know exactly where you're going to get, but I think it's be quite exciting for people to try to get something cool that they would love through this process. Yeah, so that's the egg campaign. Next slide. And this is super crazy. So we're hosting literally later today. Today is day 2 actually of this event. We're hosting New York City's largest student climate change conference, and it's called the Greenlight Conference. And so yesterday we actually had Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton's wife, tweet about us here saying, "Want to help take on the climate crisis? I encourage you to tune in to the 2021 Greenlight Festival tomorrow. It's 2 days of conversations about the opportunities we have to be a part of the solutions." And then the link to register is because we're hosting it, comes at Carbonbase. So it's www.carbonbase. And in order to make people engaged with this, we're actually hosting the festival in virtual space in this platform called GatherTown. And to make it fun, because Easter is right around the corner, we created our own Greenlight Easter egg hunt. So we have hundreds of students running around in a virtual space that looks kind of like Pokemon, and they're essentially trying to find eggs that actually contain the videos of the things I just showed you. And this is happening in real time. I mean, it took us a lot of effort to organize these speakers, but for us, what I think is super exciting is that there is, incredible amounts of, young people engagement, and make it, kind of like exciting to participate. We're very lucky to have the international community as well as the sort of top leaders of the world or former leaders of the world help support this creative drive. Next slide. So thinking beyond, this 1-2 day event that we've hosted at GatherTown, where we're going in the future, and this is an open invitation to anyone on the Zoom call who thinks that this is a cool idea and they want to be a part of this, is we are going to create a global Easter egg hunt. If you guys have seen the movie Ready Player One, I mean, this is actually one of the big inspirations for all of us. I think standing here in virtual reality world, like talking to each other, Ready Player One, gave a paradigm actually of what it could be to participate in the VR world of the future. And inside Ready Player One, the core plot is actually driven around an egg hunt, right? And so the people who find the eggs get to own the keys to the oasis, the pseudo access passwords. So what we're trying to do with our egg hunt is we're going to try to work with, and these are aspirational. We haven't actually confirmed these people yet. But we hope to, and this is an ongoing challenge for me, is to go and hide the eggs in some of the largest, decentralized, communities and platforms in the world, including Binance, Decentraland, OpenSea, and Dapper, and create the international egg hunt that will also allow people to get the eggs that we just described for you guys. So stay tuned for this, but this is going to be our next effort over the next 2 or 3 months, and I'm so excited to work on it. I think it's going to be one of the coolest projects I can be involved in these last few years. Next slide. So just to sort of finish the thing, right? In terms of who we are, I just want to give you a brief profile of the other people on the team besides myself. The next slide. So I'm Max. I am formerly a data scientist in Silicon Valley. I worked for a few years in Hong Kong, helping some big family offices invest in blockchain stuff. And also I wrote a master's thesis on US-China green investments. I'm currently doing a PhD actually at UST in public policy and digital finance with a view of looking at green finance in particular. And then so I started sort of this company, and associated with me, and I have someone I've known for a long time, is Johnny, who actually I've known for 6 years now. I met him actually the first time in Kenya, actually when he was doing the Amani Fellowship, and he has been someone who's lived a whole career in development and international sustainability efforts. So he's a very big-hearted guy. He has a big passion for helping save the planet.
I'm running out of electricity. I'm in a lecture right now. It's like an old man.
I think there's a little.
Nope.
I think Gino's not muted. And then there is also Mihai, who is originally from Romania. So believe it or not, we didn't actually anticipate that the first project we'll do will be in Romania, but now it is in Romania. And beyond that, he is also someone who's actually worked in Kenya doing a Quickstove project, which is a humanitarian project that actually reduces CO2 emissions while also driving economic livelihoods to local populations. So this is the sort of business-facing team, if you will, and then one second, and then beyond that, the other sides of the team, which is the tech side. Sorry, go to the next slide. So the other side, we have a guy who is a great high school classmate of mine called Yuan, who has actually worked in smart contracts for a long time. And then Ash, who is an amazing UI UX designer. Sanzar, who is an amazing stack engineer, also from Hong Kong, graduate from Hong Kong U. And then some people in digital marketing. Nino has actually worked in sort of international fundraising communications before. And Ahmed is currently in Milan and actually has a master's in social impact and sustainable development. So we can keep going. And I guess that to leave you with is really, the idea that in this new world we live in, this post-COVID world, where we have crazy experiences like the one we're standing right now, where I'm literally in a VR room talking to you guys on Zoom, showing you YouTube videos, streaming through my headset, then into the Zoom screen and into you guys. Like, it's possible to build international groups from day one. And I think the problems that we have to address with these great gifts we have, these almost like magical powers, have to be themselves meaningful problems. So that's why we're doing Ark, and that's why I'm very excited for the chance to talk to you, because I think anyone taking Gino's class will have to come out of it essentially being a better person. Gino is one of the most respected professors I know in Hong Kong, not only because he has a lot of love for teaching, but also because he himself has lived through a lot of the crazy technology transfer events. And so I think he understands and is able to communicate to everyone taking this class, the power that technology can bring, and also hopefully the good that technology can do. So very happy to share this with you. Do I have any more slides? Just maybe go to the next slide. And yeah, so these are his values, right? And to be honest, the NFT stuff was for us a very big surprise to see it blow up so much the way it did. We started doing the NFT project in June 2020. This has been, it's been 9 months of working on this. And then only recently, only the last 3 months, has NFTs actually become a thing with like the NBA Top Shots, with like Bebo's art collection. So to us, what's really exciting is that the world itself is changing as we are changing. And so we are very open to making a lot of mistakes, and we're doing a lot of things badly. But our heart, I think, is in the right place, and we are inspired to actually try to move forward, because unfortunately, like it or not, we're living at a very critical junction in human history. In the next few years, we will decide whether or not our kids will ever see one of the animals in the wild again, because we're literally removing hundreds of animals off the face of the planet, right, as they go extinct on a pretty fast basis. So we're living through the fourth or fifth largest extinction event in biodiversity on the planet. And this time around, it's not caused by a meteor, it's actually caused by human beings. So we need to get our stuff together. Otherwise, we won't be able to give our children a better future. We'll stop. So with that, we can end the presentation. I think the rest of it is kind of appendix. Oh, actually, so a few more Easter eggs. If you go back one slide, Easter eggs are, in order to make it exciting for people to hold the eggs, we're not going to only do it in virtual space. We're actually going to work with these large conservation groups to actually create crazy, exciting in-person events, such as the safari events, such as visiting the Amazon, or such as going into the Great Barrier Reef. Because the people who hold these NFTs just, are communicating that they care about this thing. It's actually the coolest thing I enjoyed when I was living in California in Silicon Valley. People would wear the T-shirts that represented the places they worked, or the ideas they cared about on their T-shirt. And so anytime you met someone, you understood who they are based on what they're wearing. Here, we hope that people who care about the conservation world will be celebrated as heroes in our society for giving all of us a better future. And so we want to give those people, who hold these NFTs, a hero's welcome when they go to physical spaces. Next slide. Yeah, and this is actually the part where also it's nice to do some academic research through my PhD. Like, we're also living in a world where the governance of something is no longer having to be decided by the idea of, for example, board seats, right? Where there's only 7, 8, 9 people on a board. Their decisions make up all of the totality of the existence of the company. Instead, we can have fractional representation or conviction voting. We can actually have people vote with their beliefs and also their small ownership. And this can be happening both in companies, for-profit companies, as well as non-profit companies. So I think there's a lot of exciting stuff we can do around governance that's going to power the evolution of where we're going. Next slide. And the final thing is, there's this really cool community called Common Stack, which actually is also a place where, I guess, go back one more. So Common Stack is this research collective actually is exploring what it means to use the principles of Eleanor Ostrom's theory and turn it into code. So that idea I shared with you earlier, that's really the genesis actually was reading the ideas of Common Stack for me. So I really encourage you guys, if you're interested in these ideas I'm sharing, to go check out their website. They have this, beautiful, vibrant community, and I think something that we are all very proud of to be a part of. And then the final slide is just to get in touch with us slide. We are on Telegram, we are on Twitter, we are on LinkedIn and other places. But we really hope to work with talented people around the world to actually drive sustainability through digital tools. Oh, sorry, if you go to the last slide. So we need all of you guys. We need people who are artists, who are VR graphic artists, who are creative people in general. We're looking for people who are interested in entrepreneurship, who can understand how to bring the project to market. Also people who can program and people who love to save nature intrinsically. So all of that is an open invitation, and I'm happy to stay around for questions and really get a sense of who we have listening on Zoom. So thank you guys very much.
Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Max. You're here in VR, also in Zoom as well?
Now the question is how to talk to you guys.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Matt, hello?
Hey, I can hear you.
Okay, great, wonderful. So, hey, thanks again for the talk. Again, a lot of this came from our conversation last week as well too. And the amazing thing for all of you students is, again, since June, they came up with the idea. So less than a year, and really, if you look at it, last couple of months, I think, is where he really kind of pushed this, was able to get WWF and a lot of these pieces together. And really, like he was saying, innovating, coming up with ideas. What other things can we do in terms of being able to do live events as well too, and to really look at again, new area. If you look, even 6 months ago, there was talk of NFTs, but right now, if you look at what's happening with things like just a tweet being worth $2 million or so, and being able to tie NFTs to anything, and then to be able to sell that is really a really interesting area. That, combined with the way that the United States, the rest of the world is printing money right now, is makes for a really interesting time to be. Again, all of these are just using these digital technologies. Right now, I'm run out of battery soon, which is kind of why you heard me jump in before. But I'm actually at, just to let you know, also, Max, I'm at Calvin's office right now. I'm at the Rio Chain office, and really
Amazing.
talking about their NFT platform and strategy and as well. And so a lot of stuff changes very quickly. And part of the reason why I wanted Max to come give a talk is just, if you can then ride it, be aware of what's emerging, and then really work towards capitalizing on it, you can really, truly create something new.
100%, and I think that you're at the vanguard of being able to bring this cutting edge world to all of the students you have. So, thank you for doing that.
Yeah. And so also, Tesfa, are there any questions on the Zoom at all, or? Anyone? Tesfa, can you hear me?
Not yet.
Okay.
Well, so Tesfa, is the Zoom link recorded? Are we recording this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, anyways, we can just play. So again, happy to talk to any of you guys. You can find me through Gino or Tesfar as well. And again, appreciate your attention. This is just one small speck in the ocean of the crazy things happening. Yeah.
And then we'll have Max will come over at the end of April because he'll join our board game night for Dominion and everything. We're planning on scheduling that at the end of April after all of their projects are in and everything. And then also for those of you that are around tomorrow, and although tomorrow is Easter, tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday, I think are holidays, but tomorrow and Saturday in the WeChat group, I sent you a link to this Envisioning the Future event that's happening that Ilya is organizing. We're actually hosting it. It will happen on the 11th floor of VCore, so you guys will all be there as well too. And if you're free, it starts at from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. There'll all be talks and activities Friday and Saturday right in your studio area. And so you're all welcome to join as well too. And there will be about 30 people, including James Bishop from Brains on the Beach. Peter Williams will be here, and a number of really cool people will be on campus that are all, actually, Peter Williams is the treasurer of Citibank. And so and also Jeff Rottmeyer will be here as well too. He does Impact HK that deals with homeless situation in Hong Kong. So a lot of these people will be on the 11th floor of VCore. I will be here as well too on Friday and Saturday. So you're all welcome to join for that event as well too. And so and then hopefully again, I'd like to thank Max again for giving a really wonderful talk. And then I'd like to, and again, hopefully we'll have him here on campus. We'll have him on campus at the end of April. And hopefully you're inspired. I mean, this NFT thing is something that just really came up. I was actually on a Clubhouse room with Greg Aoki, Steve Aoki, or the DJ, and he did an NFT art thing, and within 5 minutes they raised 10 million US. And so it's just really, really wild. With the right marketing and with the right message and the right idea, you can really do something very quickly here in the space. So again, thanks, Max, and again, I hope to see you guys later this weekend at Ilya's event. This weekend. All right?
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
All right,
guys.
thanks. Take care.
See you soon. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
How do I leave? Wow, this is super cool. Tesfar, thank you so much for hosting this. I'm really happy that we were able to do it in VR, even though all the technical challenges happened.
It's my pleasure.
Are you also in the office these days? Maybe if I come over on Friday or Monday, I can see you in person. I can bring you some snacks.
Sure.